He should have. That's awesome. I'm glad he is doing well, and
he's holding down the Fort Indy for me right now. He's doing all right.
well, it's like my situation, you know, my staff does all the real work. I just, kiss babies and check in, try to keep my school from leaving.
I think that's exactly what he said. He's like, run. Grayson Benton, he's like, got it. He's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
It was my first year.
Okay.
He doesn't strike me as and the plays are up. So yeah, so I feel like that night he got to open up. But when he dropped that joke, it was like, Gary, that's pretty good.
Okay, I'll talk for
Sure. Do that one.
Test 1 2, testing 1 2, 1 2 1 2. Testing here, getting ready for Wesleyan to come and visit us. Testing 1 2 1 2. 1 2 3. Checking the stream. 1 2 3. Test 1 2. Yep. Okay. Good deal. Thank you. Hey, come on up.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. This thing moves around a little bit. They say, they tell me. Hi, John. Welcome. I'll start it, and then I'll give it to you for some comments. Okay. You get all the questions.
I had to get through the Lots media door. They're working on it.
Man, where's all the rest of everybody else?
Andrew, you tell me. Okay. You ready? All right. Okay, welcome. Welcome to press conference day. That's what I call it anyway. You guys got bigger fish to fry. We're here at the NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship here at the Allen County War Memorial Coliseum in Fort Wayne, Indiana, prepping for Thursday's national semifinals. And our first team participating tomorrow is the Wesleyan Cardinals from Middletown, Connecticut. Some info here about Wesleyan. 30-1 season. They arrived here. Went 10-0 in conference play, the NESCAC. Obviously, that was the first place finish. They were runner-up in the conference tournament. Then their road to Fort Wayne. They had a home win against Delaware Valley, 72-50. A home win against Gettysburg, 82-60. A home win against Worcester Tech, WPI, 66-50. And a home win against Emory in overtime, 61-58. That was a thriller, obviously. This is the first national semifinal appearance for Wesleyan and their fifth NCAA tournament appearance. The Cardinals have far surpassed their previous season record for wins, which was 25. I think that was one of 3 20-win seasons in program history. Now they obviously have a 30-win season, contending for a national championship. And they went 1-1 against Thursday's opponent, Trinity. Each team won on the other's home floor. I think Wesleyan won at Trinity 72-63. Trinity won at Wesleyan 75-67. That was in the conference tournament championship game. And here's a note: Wesleyan's win over Emory was the first overtime victory to advance to the national semifinals since Elmhurst over Mary Hardin Baylor 87-84 in 2022. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Coach Riley here for some opening comments, and we'll take some questions. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, I'd like to first, I want to thank these guys next to me right here and our team for just making this a wonderful season. I've been calling it internally a magic carpet ride. It's been a lot of fun, and we're happy to be here. And I want to thank the hosts and everybody who's making this such a first-class, great experience for us. It's phenomenal. And I'd also like to acknowledge the other teams that are in the tournament. First, Trinity. I have a lot of respect for Coach Cosgrove and their program. We know them very well, and they know us very well, so it's going to be an exciting matchup. And also the other 2 programs, WashU and NYU. As a lifer D3 person is coaching. It's the 28th season as a head coach in Division III, and I played Division III. I take a lot of pride in Division III. I feel like I'm an ambassador for the Division III game itself, and to be here amongst the nation's great teams this year, it's been great. And as a NESCAC coach, it's exciting. Not every gym, but a lot of gyms that I've been walking into in my whole coaching career, I've seen Final Four banners on the wall of other gyms, and to actually know that one's going up in our gym is, I feel beyond blessed. And it's actually really emotional for me. So feeling blessed and a lot of gratitude. And I'm telling my team that we really have to flip the switch a lot. We really want to enjoy this moment, and we want to really embrace it. But we also have to remember that there are games to be played, and we're going to enjoy it thoroughly, but we're going to flip the switch, and we're going to be really dialed in when we need to be, understanding that the most important game of the season is, coming up tomorrow.
Okay, let me introduce who's up here going away from me. Nikki Johnson, Shane Regan, Jackson Cormier, and Fritz Hauser. So with that, any questions? I've got some also, so you're not alone here. You'll be fine.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, John. I want to ask this. This is a question that's been on our mind, and it's probably even been posed to you. Maybe even Dave McHugh talked to you about it. I don't even remember, frankly. But going into the NCAA tournament, having taken the loss that essentially cost you nothing, you were still number 1 in MPI. You had all the hosting privileges all the way through. Here now at this point, do you feel like that is a little bit of a weight off your shoulders? We're not also talking about all of those other things that you just mentioned, plus having a chance to be the first undefeated team in Division III since I can't even pull up the internet to remember when.
We embraced being undefeated, and so if we were fortunate enough to be in that position right now, I think we'd still be embracing it. But the fact that we got beat, we had to turn that into a positive and say that's our path. And we talk about that loss a lot. We talked about it continually since it happened, because if we didn't need that, it wouldn't have happened. It was a very close game. It was tied with under a minute left, and then as when 2 heavyweights fight it out, a really great team is going to win and a really great team is going to lose, and we were on the losing end of that. But I think we enjoyed being number 1 in the D3 Hoops Bowl. It never happened before, and it was one of our junior players said it in January that this season was coming to an end, no matter what, and we might as well enjoy it. And I think that it was great, and it's great when great messages come from the players themselves, not the coaching staff. And it was an impromptu team meeting, and we talked about it. Yeah, it's coming to an end, and no matter how much we fight, it is coming to an end. Let's really enjoy it. So I think we've been enjoying it, and we really enjoyed being number one. That was fun. It was a great milestone. I don't think it put any added pressure. I think the pressure for us really ended in the regular season because these guys have all played Nicky himself played in the NCAA tournament before, and these guys all played in the NESCAC tournament. Like, your desire to win once you only have 40 minutes left to play is maxed out. So the streak, we didn't talk about the streak after. We didn't talk about it at all, actually, but we certainly didn't even think about it at the end of the regular season because that didn't matter. What matters is just getting 40 more minutes of basketball.
Could I ask Nikki to follow up on that, talk about the pressure of, or whatever, the feeling of playing knowing that you're in an elimination game and in constant elimination games the whole month?
Yeah, I think it does add a heightened sense of urgency, but like you said, it's for both teams. Like, whether we're 26-0 or we're 26-1, it doesn't matter because you have 40 minutes left to play, and that could be your last basketball. So I think for me and our teammates, it's being present in the moment, knowing you have 40 minutes left, and you got to do whatever it takes to win. So the preparation leading up to those games have to be really good. The attention to detail has to be really good, and it's just knowing that it could be over. So you might as well put everything you got into it.
Does anybody else, any of the other players have anything to add to that?
I would just say, every single game throughout our win streak and, throughout this great year, our preparation hasn't changed. Whether, we're playing Trinity, a top 5 team in the country, or we could be playing a team that's under 500, especially in the NESCAC, day in, day out, you're playing great teams. We had a game, we went up to Bates right after they played Trinity, under 500 team, and they took us to overtime. We know the Division III level, it's a very serious level, and our preparation doesn't change. That's a big thing for us.
Jackson, this is for Jackson here. Jackson, you're the top rebounder, 6.4. Can you talk about how you defensively, and you held Embry scoreless the last 4:43 of overtime. I can't even imagine that. They didn't score after that. Talk about how you guys were locked down and getting so many stops in a row.
I mean, yeah, and in games like that, we've had multiple games like that where they're really close down to the wire towards the end, and even if we can't score, we take pride in holding the other team scoreless too. Tufts is one example that I remember. We were struggling to score at the end of the game, but so were they, and it ended up being we had the lead towards the end, and we ended up holding them scoreless, and we came out with the victory. So kind of focusing in on the game plan through a defensive lens has been a major emphasis for us this year, and it works out when games get really close like that.
This is for Fritz. Fritz, it's your third season. Can you talk about the changes you noticed in the offseason to go from last year, 13 and 12 last season, to incredible this year? What went on?
Yeah, at the end of last season, nobody was satisfied with the result and having a near 500 record. So it really started last spring with pickup and guys getting working on their own, and everyone made a huge jump in their game and also their leadership ability. And I feel like those two things have really put us over the edge, having great upperclassmen leaders and then young guys who are really willing to jump into roles and really execute those roles at the highest level.
Can I ask? Oh, sorry.
I'm going to ask something here, Matt.
Go for it.
I watched you guys against Hamilton, double overtime game, then against last week against Emory. When you guys go to overtime, celebration on the bench. Somebody walk me through that, what that's about.
That's a big part of our identity. We've been doing it for a long time. It's a Coach Riley staple. So, no matter what the situation is, the other team could hit literally a full court buzzer beater to tie it up when we go into overtime. We always have the momentum. And, it really shows in times like the Emory game, where we're up, 12 points, 5 minutes left. Most teams would be hanging their head damn, I don't want to play overtime. I wish this game was over. We get another 5 minutes of basketball with the guys, and, we're excited about it no matter what.
Yeah, just to add on, it's we get to play more basketball. which is really cool. And like over time, you keep winning those overtime games. It's like, all right, like the excitement is actually real because it's like we know we've been here before and like we can really win these games, and we've been doing it all year. So like each time we go into overtime, I think like the excitement really actually builds versus generating that excitement.
We need to actually have someone describe what the celebration is, though. What are we talking about?
You have to watch the film. I'll say I'll give it some context. It was the early 2000s. I was the head coach, and we were playing Trinity, and I was at Bates College, and they threw in a half-court shot with one. We went up 3 with 1 second left, and we were celebrating like we won, and they hit a half-court shot, and we went in overtime. And by the time one of my players, kicked 3 chairs and picked up another one and slammed it on the ground, we had no time to adjust to overtime, and we ended up losing by. It might have been 18. It might have been 12. Felt like 30. And as a younger coach, I said that's never happened to me again. So from that moment, when it went in overtime, I said we're celebrating like it's a win. And when we did it at Bates, the commentator, 2.5 minutes into overtime, was still wondering what we were doing and thought we didn't. Like someone came up to me at the end of the game and said, "Coach, it's your job to know the score at the end of the game. You can't celebrate like you won when it was a tie." So that's actually, we have some quirks in our program, and that's one of them. And I've been doing it for a long time, but it's always happened in kind of in a game that doesn't get a lot of attention, but it's happened when with the win streak. So now it's been going on for a long time, but 24 years I think would be but so people are finally paying attention.
Awesome.
So.
I wanted to circle back to stuff Fritz was talking about then about just coming back from last year and that sort of thing. Obviously 13-12 to 30-1 is kind of crazy, but there were a lot of close games last year. Could you tell me a little bit about what you saw in change from last year to this year, Coach?
Well, we would describe last season as a stinker with the results that we had, but the process and the level of joy that we had was far from that. I think that we. And you just don't want to give cliches and coach speak, but we actually really had, it was a really enjoyable group. And for me, knowing that we had probably 9 of our top scorers and rebounders back, I knew that we were investing in the future and we could learn from those lessons. So we still talk a lot about last year. Like we learned lessons last year, and that was one of our big points going into the season is like, we don't need to learn lessons this year because we lived them and felt them last year. And we were 2-9 on the road. We ended up 2-0 on the road for 2 road games, a very good Rutgers Newark team, and beat Montclair State. And we tied our road, and we had 9 home games this year and 15 away games. So, and in the NESCAC it was 4 home and 6 away. So it was a very challenging schedule, hard to win on the road in college basketball for sure at all levels. So. Like tonight, I'm still going to talk about. I'm still going to revisit some of the mistakes that we made that prevented us from having a good season last year because it's the same group. There's some years in the off season you watch film and it's kind of pointless because your team's going to be completely different. Mm-hmm. This year, we could watch a lot of film, and it's the same guys. So I think it was, and these guys dig into film too. Like these guys. They're watching the games and so I think there's a benefit to that. There was a lot to learn, and we still talk about it.
I've got for Nikki. Nikki got 144 assists. That's the most in Fort Wayne this weekend. But you're also second leading scorer. Can you talk about and the only player to start off 31 games? Can you talk about your versatility and your consistency through the season? What you bring to the table?
Yeah, I like to do a lot of different things on the court. I think primarily, I'm a distributor, but when the game calls for it, if I see an opportunity, I can also score and call my own number. And I think I also take a lot of pride on the defensive end. So I think a lot of that stuff is just effort and intensity. If you really wanted to, people could impact the game in a lot of different ways. And, just being undersized and stuff like that, I have a chip on my shoulder to really leave my mark on the game. So that's kind of where it comes from.
Nice. And Shane, I've got you as the top scorer, still playing, 18.1. And you had 18 against Emory after a tough semifinal. I think you had some foul trouble in that game.
Yep.
But what was your mindset overnight to come back and then have such a big impact against Emory?
I mean, the game versus WPI, I mean, we had some other guys going and I was in foul trouble. And, you know, like I said then, you know, whether I have, you know, 3 points or a bunch of points, it doesn't matter. You know, we're all about winning. You know, we have tons of guys that can step up for us. And, you know, my mindset didn't change going into the next game. You know, I was very confident. You know, we have a great group of guys that, you know, it's all about winning.
And Jackson and Fritz, could you guys talk about, it hasn't been a long week, but you had a home sectional. Just talk about the excitement on campus, you guys making it here to Fort Wayne.
Yeah, it's been spring break for us for the past 2 weeks, so it's been pretty empty on campus, but the people who have been on campus have done a really great job showing out, and we're very appreciative of the crowds, and not just through the sectionals, through the regular season, through the playoffs. I mean, the campus has been amazing, and we couldn't be more grateful for it. And yeah, overall, we just really appreciate our fans and our families.
Yeah, I'm sure your phone's been blowing up, you know, about friends and things like that.
Congratulations and things of that nature.
Yeah, and I think the fact that we played so many away games early on in the season really built the hype around our team. We finally got ranked over winter break or maybe just before it, so students were also off campus then, and then our first game back against Tufts, the stands were packed, and that's one of the craziest environments I think almost all of the guys on our team have ever played in, so it's been really cool to see all different kinds of students showing out to the game.
It's awesome.
Guys, I want to ask about your opponent, obviously, but first, in general, just talk about playing in the NESCAC, seeing teams like Trinity, like Tufts on a regular basis, and how that prepares you for having made this tournament run. And this is open to anybody, but maybe...
Yeah, it's the last, we need to be the last one here.
All right.
So, okay,
then
wrap it up.
speak specifically about Trinity then, too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Well, we're very familiar with them. Great program. Coach Cosgrove does a great job, and they beat us in the NESCAC finals, and they've been here before. So I think there's a level of familiarity and comfort that we don't have. So I think we do have our work cut out for us, but I think it is a blessing. This has been a whirlwind since we cut down the nets for the sectional, and I can only imagine if we were trying to get ready for a team that we knew nothing about. So I think it's an advantage. That's not an advantage for us because they're in the same boat. But yeah, I mean, you look at their defensive numbers. They're number one in points allowed per game. They're number one in defensive field goal percentage. So you know, we're gonna have to be really efficient in our offensive game because they're really hard to score on. But you know, and we think it's great for the NESCAC. I think that's amazing. It's amazing that two NESCAC teams are. I was dialed in the last time it happened. You know.
All right, you guys get out of here. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.